Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are watching the Paris Fintech Forum Communities video interview series. I'm Elliott Gotkine, and today I'm joined by the CEO Payments at BPCE, Pierre-Antoine Vacheron. Great to have you with us.
Hello, Elliott. Very happy to be with you today.
Okay, so before we get cracking, we're going to learn a little bit more about BPCE. So, Pierre-Antoine, you're France's second biggest banking group with a big wealth management arm in the form of Natixis. How's business?
So, as you said, BPCE is the second largest banking group in France. It's a cooperative bank, 36 million customers, 100,000 team members, employees, and we have average 20% of market share in all the segments of a bank business in France. In payments, we have invested heavily over the last years. We put together the payments with the digital part of the bank, and we have, as I said, invested in BNPL with One. We have invested in merchant acquiring with PayPlug. We have invested in bank as a service with Exponent, and all this enables BPCE to enjoy higher growth than the average on the market. And this has also allowed us to be selected in partnership with Visa to be the payment provider for all the Olympic Games and Paralympics that took place over the summer. And this has been a great success. 12 million tickets, as you know, sold in 100 countries, and all this was managed by PayPlug. The same with the prepaid card. So we are quite in a good track in this segment of payments for BPCE.
And interest rates have started coming down in the Eurozone, reducing net interest margins for banks, but perhaps also reducing concerns about bad loans. How would you characterize the outlook?
Well, it's a bit difficult to assess because we are just coming out of a period of high interest rates and then two cuts in the rates by the ECB. As you may know, the French market is a bit special because the rates of the mortgage are fixed. So the adjustment of the market takes a bit more time. But let's say that overall, lower interest rates means lower inflation, and that should be good for the economy.
And I think you recently announced plans to create a strategic partnership in the field of payments with BNP Paribas. Why are you joining forces, and what does this plan mean in practice?
Well, BPCE, as I said, has always invested in payments. So we've been the first to operate and to process instant payment. We've been the first to do Apple Pay. We've been the first on Tap to Pay. We've been the first on Wero. And so we want to keep this edge on the market. And payments are evolving towards more real-time, more mobile. We need to be able to manage data in a cloud-based environment. So all this leads us to step to the next generation of payment infrastructure, since this is something that we consider as core. Payment processing, it's something like 20,000 transactions per minute. So it's something which is very industrial. And we have decided to jump to the next generation with BNPP because BNPP has been our partner for a long period of time. The ambition is significant. We want to be among the top 3 processors in Europe. We want to be able to welcome third-party financial institutions on our facility. So it's clearly an ambition for BPCE to remain a very strong industry player in payments.
Okay, so we've heard about BPCE. Let's now learn more about Pierre-Antoine. So, Pierre-Antoine, you began your career in the French Treasury. Did you originally plan to perhaps be a career civil servant or maybe even enter politics? Was that the original plan?
I think things were open. The main idea was to join a very nimble administration. That was the French Treasury. Small number of people, pretty smart, and focusing on the strategic financial issues of the French economy. And I must say I was not disappointed at the time because I've been involved notably in all the structuring of the insurance sector in France. and it was a great experience. Finally, I decided to move to the private sector afterwards. And I had the luck to always be exposed to very strategic situations. So first, the creation of Airbus, then the rescue plan of Alstom, which was a different ballgame. And finally, I moved to payment at Ingenico first, as you know, where I led the transformation of Ingenico from a pure hardware provider to a payment service provider.
Right. Well, as you say, you've been in payments for most of the past 2 decades. You seem to have found your calling, if you like.
Well, payments is a fascinating industry. It's about moving money, so it's a very basic need of the society. But thanks to the regulation, the technology, the money that has been invested in this industry, the shift to mobile, this industry has been fascinating for the last 20 years, and it's clearly not over. So when you are in payments, I think every quarter brings you some new opportunities, new challenges, and you never get bored.
And what would you say has been one of the biggest challenges you faced in your career, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Well, I would say that such an environment of payments brings you new challenges every quarter. But it's also an environment where you need to be robust. You need to bring security to your customers. You need to bring simplicity to the customer, even if the matter is technical. So I would say that the main challenge is a challenge of people. How do you get the right team? Mixing the right level of expertise, obviously, of ambition, of development, how you get the right product guys, how you get the right developers, so that at the end of the day, you bring the best solutions on the market. And obviously, the need you have at a certain point in time is not exactly the same that you have 1 or 2 years later. So you need to be able to evolve your teams when the business evolves itself.
And when you're not dealing with payments, what does Pierre-Antoine get up to in his spare time?
Well, I try to take care of the family first, obviously, but I'm also cycling. I developed some kind of passion for long distance cycling. It's a mix of, the mechanics, because it's very advanced mechanics that you have, and for accessible price as compared to cars, if I may say so. But it's also effort, it's training, it's the landscape. And it's at the same time individual experience and team experience, because you are seldom on your own when you are riding. And so you're always happy to get supported by the team members that you have with you.
Okay, well, I guess as they say, perhaps in business and many other aspects of life, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's good to do that literally as well as metaphorically. Okay, so Pierre-Antoine, a key part of this interview is to get your take on the future of finance. But first, we are going to take a very quick break, after which we're going to continue our conversation with BPCE CEO of Payments, Pierre-Antoine Vacheron. Welcome back. And don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. And now, Pierre-Antoine, let's talk about the future of finance. So, Pierre-Antoine, there's been a lot of talk about how the finance sector in France, and Paris in particular, has been a big or the biggest beneficiary of Brexit. I'm sorry to bring up that word that we hope we'd never hear from again. Paint me a picture of how that's been in practice for the finance sector in France.
That's a good question. In fact, there are two dimensions, I would say, in terms of answer. The first one is that, as you pointed out, many large international and global financial institutions have elected France as the Eurozone headquarters. And that has been quite, I wouldn't say a good surprise, but good news for the French economy. And this is linked to the environment that has been put in place by the administration, no doubt about that, and also the pool of talents that we have in the country. I would say the second dimension is the community of fintech that has grown in France thanks to the Fintech Forum also, if I may say. And when you look at the number of fintechs that you have in France, the unicorns, so if you take the Conto, if you take the Swile, for instance, you have many fintechs that have become major players in Europe or on their segments, and this is linked to the environment that has been put in place by the government and by the administration.
Yeah, and I guess back in the day, there were a lot of French finance professionals coming to London, and perhaps a number of those have returned, bringing their expertise with them. And I don't want to get into politics at all, but given the situation in France, let's say, and the new government in the UK, is it possible that process might reverse, that perhaps the UK will once more become more attractive, and you'll see perhaps some of the benefits France has gained from Brexit reversing?
Well, I think the Eurozone has its own benefits versus the UK market in terms of regulation, in terms of size of the domestic market. So I don't think the risk of reverse movement is significant. The risk could be around competition, new competition between some other continental European countries and France. But let's hope that the regulation will not change too much, that the tax policy will remain as attractive as it is today for investors.
Okay. And of course, the future of finance is shaped and affected by many things, but one thing that a lot of people are talking about right now is how it could be transformed by artificial intelligence. What has it done so far from your perspective, and what impact do you expect it to have in finance and fintech?
No, you're right. It's not new. I mean, machine learning has already impacted dramatically this industry. If you take the BPCE, for instance, fraud management has been completely structured around machine learning over the last 5 years, with the success that we know in terms of reduction of fraud, while limiting the friction for the customers. But you have other examples like customer care, dispute management, for instance, which have been managed by machine learning over the last years already. What's new, obviously, is the next generation of AI and how it will impact this industry. We've been investigating that quite significantly over the last quarters. We know where it will have the most impact in our business. So that will be, again, around customer care, customer operations. That will be, again, quite a lot around fraud management. That will be quite significant around, for instance, API documentation. So how to ease the integration of new customers, or how to help them to get used to your documentation. So all this will impact dramatically over the next 5 years, but it takes time. It takes time because the maturity of the tools is not as strong as we could think. So there has been some kind of oversell, if I may say so, or more anticipation, too much anticipation. So we need some time. We need to continue investing without making too much noise. But in 5 years from now, no doubt that we will be dramatically changing the operating model of our operations.
And as France's second biggest banking group, I guess you have the resources to invest and to deploy AI, perhaps more so than some of the fintechs out there, the specifically generative AI startups notwithstanding, because obviously they've raised huge amounts of money. So is it fair to say that it's easier for big, well-funded banks to make the most of AI's promise compared with smaller or newer ones, or do they have the advantage because they're more nimble and they can make decisions faster?
Well, it's more a question of size of the data pool to which you have access than a question of money. I mean, the good news with generative AI is that the tools are available, so you don't have to invest yourselves on this next generation of tools, so you can leverage on the market. But what makes a big difference is how much data you can have access to in a secured manner. So that you don't have to share your data with the public space. But besides that, I mean, your point is right. I mean, the question of agility matters, and the large organizations like banks need to be very focused, need to have the right setup so that they can deliver the value as fast as the startups, which might be a bit more agile than the large organizations.
And of course, following the IT outage in July, massive global outage, some banks were, I think, forced to go back to pen and paper. Is there a danger? I mean, I'm not saying we're going to go back to that, but is there a danger there can be too much technology in finance?
Well, I would say technology eats finance at breakfast. So there's no reason and no way by which we could reduce the impact of technology and the importance of technology on finance. So the answer is much more around the robustness, the reliability, the resilience of your infrastructure, how you manage the cyber security risk, or how you manage the fraud risks, how you get enough backups so that if something happens, you can get the continuity that you need for your operations. But no way that we will go back from high technology in finance, for sure.
Okay, maybe just have some pen and paper ready just in case everything gets fried in some kind of, something. Anyway, one of the trends, of course, we're also seeing in finance is the desire to make it more sustainable in terms of the environment, its impact on society, financial inclusion, things like that. How important is it that you as a commercial company, how important is that to you as a commercial company and to society as a whole?
Well, sustainability, inclusion is completely core in the DNA of a large bank these days, and so that does impact the way we design the products. That does impact also the type of products that we are pushing. I mean, taking part to the Paralympics in Paris, we have significantly progressed in the needs, in the awareness of the needs of people who are a bit disabled. So we are investing a lot on that, especially in our payment solutions, and beyond that, we are supporting initiatives that help inclusion, that facilitate inclusions of people who don't have access to bank accounts. So we have a partnership with the French Lottery for that, the Niayo company for the kids also, to educate them, to help them get included in the financial considerations. So we do that with Money Walkie. So those are a few examples of ways and means by which we are supporting inclusion in the financial society.
Okay, and finally, in this section, where is the best place to start a fintech or bank right now? Are you just going to say Paris?
Yeah, I mean, I think Paris has effectively some very good benefits for an investor? Would it be again the regulation, the financial institution that help also take the French BPI, which is supporting a lot investors in this industry. You have the talent pool, which is pretty massive now, considering all the successes that we have had and all the attraction that the financial industry in tech has developed over the years. So yeah, I would recommend to invest in Paris.
Okay, lovely. So look, it's time now for our round of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get 90 seconds on my timer here. There we go. And I'm just looking for one-word answers. And once the alarm goes off, then we will stop. So away we go. What fintech segment has the biggest potential in the next 5 years?
B2B payments.
What is the biggest pain point in your everyday financial life that you would like to see resolved?
KYC.
Are bank bosses ready for the AI revolution?
Improving.
Are customers ready?
Demanding.
Do you think regulators in the EU and the United States have kept pace with all the new possibilities and behaviors we are seeing in the financial industry?
Yes.
Have you personally ever invested in crypto?
Yes.
Are physical points of sales part of the future of finance?
Not sure.
Are bank branches part of the future of finance?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most likely, how likely do you think it will be that in the next 10 years, one of the neobanks will be as profitable as a top-tier legacy bank?
10.
That central bank digital currencies will become a mainstream reality in the EU or the United States?
6.
That you'll be able to open a crypto account, at a top-tier bank?
4.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm afraid we're out of time for our round of rapid fire questions and for our conversation. So I really just want to thank you, BPCE CEO of Payments, Pierre-Antoine Vacheron, for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
And for everyone else watching, we will be back again next time with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We do hope you'll be able to join us again then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Paris Fintech Forum YouTube channel and to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Paris Fin Forum. That's all for now. See you next time. Bye-bye.